Howdy folks, I have been told that doing a basic oil change is a difficult proposition. I don't think so. I think what it really comes down to is that do you have the mechanical know-how to do it or don't you? So I'm making this video and I want you folks to put it down in the comments, because literally folks, this is probably the hardest vehicle for me in the fleet. And it's not really the dumping out of the oil, it's actually the filter. So this is the 2000 Ford Taurus with the 3.0 Duratec. This has not got the Vulcan motor, this has the dual overhead cam motor. The way that they have the oil filter coming out of the block and the way that they've got the exhaust system routed, that is what the big problem is. So, things we're going to need. We're going to need the actual oil filter. Went with a OE Ford Motorcraft oil filter. You know, this takes the FL820S. A lot of vehicles, well, a lot of engines I'm finding out from this era take the FL820S. The FL820S will fit the 542 valves, it'll fit the 6.8 V10s, the 4.6s, and any of the 3-liter Duratecs, because even the 01 changeover motor takes the FL820S. Now I don't know about the super late models, but I know from this era that late 90s to early 2000s FL820S. We're going to be running Ford Motorcraft oil, 530 Motorcraft oil. That's what this one takes. This is not new enough to have 520 in it yet, and I'll show you that. You know, this is a 530 motor. This is not a 520 motor. Now I run some oil stabilizer or oil additive. Remember, when you're putting an oil additive in, that you need to subtract the amount of oil out of the equation that you're adding in additive. For most additives, that's what you have to do, okay? So this typically takes 6 quarts. So realistically, we're not going to crack open either one of the 2 quarts. We're going to open up the 5-quart jug here. We're going to pour this into the motor and the additive. That should bring us up to 6 quarts. Now the weird thing about this motor is that when you fill it for the first time and before you do the fire up, if you haven't added any oil to the filter from your 6 quarts that it requires of you, we're going to put those over there. The dipstick reads high, and that's why with the additive we're going to be adding the additive to the oil filter, because it's so much easier with this squeeze top that we're just going to add it to the filter. So, and it'll mix in with the motor. So, things that we're going to need other than the actual oil itself and the filter, wrenches or sockets, because you got to take the drain plug off. Now, this band style filter, if you get it up in there and you can get it worked in there, you can somewhat get this to work, but I end up on this vehicle. This is the only vehicle that I actually have to use this. And what this is it's a strap that goes around the filter, and it tightens up, and then you take your 1/2-inch drive. This is 1/2-inch drive. Slot, ratchet, and jerk it up. It pulls it right off. Now, I've had the filter on this car come off so hard that I've literally crushed the filter with this tool. So remember to lube up your gasket on this. I know that there's certain vehicles out there that Ford has put out that say, oh, don't put any lubricant on the gasket. This isn't one of them, and realistically that's not until you get to the super high end and the late model Ford stuff. So if you need it, get yourself a cheater bar, but realistically you shouldn't need it for pulling a drain plug off. Okay, so we're gonna start here. And oh, don't forget your drain pan. Yeah, don't forget that. Now, trying to make this fit in one video, so yeah, the thing is that folks, oil changes are not that difficult. It's a mindset thing. Unless you're working on some exotic thing such as a BMW or something of that nature, folks, oil changes are fairly simple. And realistically, in the time that I've done this video, that this video's been going on, I could have probably had this job done by now. But, you know, you folks are going to be the judge. Okay, we're going to grab our wrenches, and we're going to grab our strap, tool, and our 1/2-inch drive. That should be it for now. So, if you come underneath here, okay, well, okay, here's the transaxle. This one's an AX4N. Now, right here is your oil pan for your car, and right up in there, that's the oil filter. Now, if you folks notice, right there is the catalytic converter. That is pretty much the thing that keeps getting in the way every time I try and do this job on the basic level. So, I'm going to try and set you folks up to watch the oil come out of the block. Okay. Okay, yeah, you can see everything you need to. So, I believe, is this a 13? Yep, 13. Okay. Sometimes, you know, you just gotta break that seal. Now, realistically, folks, I do recommend you buy a new seal for these, because these seals, these are the parts that tend to leak. And actually, this is from a previous oil change. The oil that's on the transmission. So now we're just going to let that drain. And the thing is, folks, realistically, clean up your bolt. You know, you don't have to make it to surgical clean, but at least make sure that you got most of the old oil off of it. And if you are going to attempt to reuse that seal, at least put some frickin' fresh oil on it. So that's going to take a while, especially since this engine had been running, but it hadn't been running for a while. So it's still warm, but it's not hot. So and oh, if you're going to do this for the very first time, change your oil for the very, very first time, do not do this when you just come off the highway or, you know, back from the store. You know, give the engine some time to cool down and actually become workable. Because realistically, folks, you don't need to burn the heck out of yourself. And you know, coolant gets up around 220 degree at 210 degrees, between 195 and 210. Oil can be upwards of 300 degrees. So yeah, just think about that, because realistically, folks, your oil does get hotter than the rest of the motor, because this is a fluid that's really taking not just the friction away, but it's also taking a lot of the heat away, especially in the more modern vehicles with piston cooling jets and variable cam timing, things like that. So now, when it comes to actual oil change intervals, realistically, for general everyday driving, I still recommend the 3,000 mile method. Okay, I still recommend the 3,000 mile method. Every 3,000 miles, get your oil changed. I don't care if it's synthetic or if it's that new once a year oil change. For me, oil's cheap compared to an engine. Okay, these Duratec motors at the salvage yard, last time I looked it up, it was going to cost me $600 plus the core charge of another $150, so $750, $800 to get just the engine. Okay, I can buy a lot of oil for $800. Okay, think about that. Now, if up here in the upper Midwest, for some weird reason, Chrysler products have like $2,000. Any Chrysler motor is $2,000. So if you've got a Chrysler motor up here in the upper Midwest, that's a lot of oil that you can buy for what the cost of a motor is. So think about it in those terms. Now the oil's almost finished draining. Oil's almost finished draining. Well, yeah, you know what? We're just going to call that, because it's going to drip forever. Yeah. You know what? Yeah, we're gonna go get some good oil. Here's the oil filter, folks. So, realistically, if you've got a vehicle that's in good shape and everything, treat it right and it'll treat you right. Okay. Yep. Okay, come on. So, okay, there's some clean oil. Oil up that. And reinstall. You know, you don't have to reef it down, but you know, you do want to make sure it's tight. There. You know, don't put the impact on it, is what I'm saying. Besides, this is an aluminum pan. Most vehicles now have aluminum oil pans. You don't want to be cracking this aluminum. So, okay. Now, we're going to prep a filter. This filter, how I prep my filters is in this way. Where's that bottle? Now, some engines don't like it that you pre-oil the filter. Some engines, they don't care. Others are tell you, yes, pre-oil the filter. So, this, folks, I pre-oil. So, and I do it, whoop, and then we just let all the bubbles come out. Make sure that nice. And there we go. We have a filter that is ready. And realistically, that's the way it should look. So now we're going to set the filter off to the side because realistically, we're going to come up in here. We're going to look at that. Okay. Now, yeah, this is not going to work one-handed, but okay. Let's see. Can I prop you folks up on the box for the new oil filter? Yeah, sort of. Yeah. Okay. There you go. There you go. You got a nice view. And all you do, realistically, is you twist and you twist there. Then where's the ratchet? Yes, I know I'm doing this out of order. I should have. Okay, there we go. There. Now it's starting to move. Now, this is where, folks, sorry, but you're just going to have to see my beautiful face because, or, you know what? You're just going to have to watch because there she be, and then we can come up in here. Whoa. And we're just going to dump all that in. Now, make sure, you know, oh, come here. Make sure that when you're doing this, that this seal came with the filter. Because if this seal didn't come with the filter, that means you got to reach your hand back up in there, folks, and you got to freaking fish out a seal. So make darn sure that that seal came with it. Alright. Now we're going to set the old filter off to the side. Set the tools off. Grab a little bit of rag. Yeah. Grab a new filter. And yeah, you know what? That could use a little bit more oil. I know it could. But that is why... Oh, neat trick an old lady taught me. Only make the hole wee big and you won't, and you have better control of the flow. So, woo. Huh? Okay. Now, that should be completely filled. And then some. Now, we just put it up in there. And we screw it on. Now, my hand is nice and oily, and I bet by this point yours would be too. That's another thing. Don't wear nice clothes doing this, because you will wreck them. Really, you want to get as much oil off your exhaust system as possible, because when you do fire up the motor, the fact that this gets hot, it burns off. And realistically, folks, it kind of smells nasty. And yeah. There. Now, we should be done with the underneath side work. So, we're going to go up top now and finish the job. Put caps back on things. Okay. Take your oil and your filter to a recycling center. Now. Oh, fun, 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 folks. Fun, fun, fun. Let's, come on. Okay, come on, buddy. Now, that's where your oil goes in. Yeah, hold on, folks. You know what? Just look at me. Okay. Okay, so now we'll grab our filter with a funnel. Yeah, maybe we don't need one. There's our funnel. Wipe it out. Open up. Now, there's no real good way to do this. Now, I don't care whether you're running the Lucas or the Schaefer's or whatever. I have noticed that most of these darn oil additives are thick. So actually that's the first thing I usually put in. I usually put in the additive first, because what I then do is I wait. Clean off the dipstick. What I then do is I wait for this to come out. And oh, folks, this is a 50-degree day. And yeah, I have noticed that, like I said, both the Schaefer's and the Lucas, they tend to not flow worth a damn. So now I can set that off to the side facing down. We got this. I'm going to open up that hole just a little bit more. I'm just going to open it up the whole way. What the heck am I thinking? Now, I know that some of you are like, oh, well, the Schaefer's, you know, it's so thick, you know, why does it go through your motor? How does it go through your motor? Well, the way that they've got that set up is it likes oil. So once it hits your oil, it thins out to whatever the heck the oil actually is. So now I've had people run it, they've had great luck with it. I've had people run Lucas, had great luck with it. So realistically, it's whatever additive, if you do decide to put an additive in, whatever additive you prefer and what your actual engine prefers. So stick that in there. So hot dog, folks. So now we back that open. Now, realistically, check and make sure that you have oil, not so much that the amount. Now, this one is actually reading full, so we're full of oil. Shiny bits. So, we have oil. Now, before you do a first fire on your engine after the oil change, crawl underneath the car or vehicle and look for oil leaks. Is it dripping? And if it is dripping, is that old oil that just you didn't clean off, or is it actual drippings from the clean oil that you just put in? So alright, now The oil change is done. Now we do a first fire. Come with me. Now, the big thing to look for on a first fire on oil is, number one, you're gonna have
building up your military face.
ow. Shut off all your accessories. And the one, you know what? We're gonna look for that light. If that light stays out. Okay. And it went out. So now that we know that it's got good oil pressure, the light's out, we come back, and we look, and there's no drippy. So that means we've done the job correctly. So like I said, put it down in the comments. Is oil changes that bad of a job to do? Realistically, I don't think so. It's just a time-consuming thing. And I think that you folks will agree with me on that. So thanks for watching. See you on the next one.